Greetings, dear fans of the silver screen of yesteryear, and step gently into the glowing hush of early cinema with quality silent films, where shadows speak and expressions carry entire worlds without a single word. Before we begin, consider the hands behind this picture. Director Christie was one of the architects of Hollywood's early comedy machine, helping establish one of the first permanent studios in Los Angeles and building a reputation for brisk, finely tuned short subjects that delighted 1920s audiences. And starring tonight, Bobby Ray, born Wilhelm Robert McBain Führer in New York, was a lively silent-era performer who appeared in dozens of comedies before moving behind the camera as a director and assistant director during Hollywood's shift to sound. Now picture the world of 1926. The National Broadcasting Company was founded, ushering in a bold new era of radio entertainment. Robert Goddard successfully launched the first liquid-fueled rocket, quietly igniting humanity's path toward space. And in Britain, the general strike brought industry to a halt, revealing a world wrestling with change. 1926 was also the year Rudolph Valentino's death caused mass hysteria, an example of how intensely audiences bonded with silent film stars. It was a year of invention and unrest, of futures unfolding. Into that charged atmosphere arrived Stork Mad. At first glance, it's a playful domestic farce, a baby mysteriously left on a couple's doorstep. But beneath the buoyant surface lies a sharp look at responsibility and panic. The sudden arrival of an infant forces two adults, perhaps not entirely prepared, into a collision with expectation. Silent comedy thrives on frantic gestures and wide-eyed disbelief, yet the heart of the story is deeply human. What happens when life delivers a burden that may also be a blessing? One central theme is unexpected parenthood, the jolt of responsibility without warning. Modern audiences understand that feeling. Even today, people confess they don't feel fully prepared for adulthood, much less raising a child. The humor springs from that universal tension between self-image and reality. Another theme is the delicate balance of domestic roles. In 1926, husbands and wives were expected to perform clearly defined duties. Watching those roles wobble under pressure offers laughter, but also a surprisingly relevant reflection on partnership and pride. There is also the anxiety of reputation. In a tightly knit 1920s community, a baby appearing out of nowhere could spark whispers and suspicion. Today the village may be digital, but the fear of judgment endures. The film transforms that unease into spirited amusement, turning potential scandal into cinematic sparkle. Stay with us after the picture ends, because we'll explore more about its cast, its production roots, and how films like this stood on the edge of a revolution that would soon bring synchronized sound to the screen. For now, settle back and let this lively relic of 1926 unfold before you, an effervescent reminder that even in a restless world of strikes, rockets, and radio waves, the simplest human dilemmas could still fill a theater with delight. As the final frame fades and the light softens into stillness, Stork Mad leaves us with the image of a doorstep that changed everything. You can almost picture the cradle swaying gently in a quiet room that was moments ago filled with frantic motion. The laughter lingers, but so does something gentler. Beneath the exaggerated gestures and comic panic, the film settles into a surprisingly tender afterglow, the realization that responsibility, however unexpected, can quietly transform a life. Director Al Christie was born Alfred Ernest Christie on October 23, 1881, in London, Ontario, Canada. He entered the motion picture business in its infancy and became one of the most industrious figures in early screen comedy. After early work with pioneering studios, he co-founded the Christie Film Company with his brother Charles and produced and directed hundreds of short subjects during the 1910s and 1920s. His specialty was brisk, accessible comedy built around domestic misunderstandings and romantic complications. In 1926, the same year this film appeared, Christie survived a serious automobile accident in Florida that resulted in a fatality, an event that cast a shadow over an otherwise remarkably productive career. He later worked through the early sound era before retiring, and when he died in Hollywood in 1951, he was remembered as one of the architects of Hollywood's short comedy tradition, later honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Bobby Ray, born Wilhelm Robert McBain Führer on October 6, 1899, in New York City, was part of the energetic generation of silent comedians who thrived in two-reelers. He appeared in more than 60 short films, developing a style built on physical agility and expressive timing. Near the end of the silent era, he moved into directing, helming features such as Riley of the Rainbow Division and Dugan of the Dugouts. When sound reshaped the industry, Ray adapted by working as an assistant director on low-budget productions and later television projects, showing a flexibility that many silent performers struggled to achieve. He died in California in 1957, leaving behind a career that mirrored Hollywood's own evolution. Mollie Malone, the film's leading lady, was a familiar face in mid-1920s comedies, often portraying spirited young wives or ingenues caught in escalating misunderstandings. Like many silent actresses, she found the transition to talkies difficult and gradually stepped away from the spotlight. Supporting player Bud Jamison, however, would flourish in the sound era, becoming widely recognized for his work with the Three Stooges. Known for his booming voice and blustery authority figures, Jamison managed to reinvent himself successfully, and early appearances in films like Stork Mad helped cement his screen persona. Production of Stork Mad took place during the height of Christie's efficient studio system. Two-reel comedies were shot quickly on modest interior sets, living rooms, porches, staircases, designed for physical business and escalating confusion. Distributed through Educational Pictures, Christie's shorts were reliable additions to theater programs across the country. Yet this was also a fragile moment in film history. Sound technology was advancing rapidly, and within a year, talking pictures would begin transforming performance styles and audience expectations. Films like this represent the confident final stretch of silent domestic farce before that seismic shift. Thematically, the film captures anxieties that feel remarkably current. The sudden arrival of a baby forces its characters to confront the gap between self-image and responsibility. In 1926, clearly defined roles shaped expectations for husbands and wives, and much of the humor comes from watching those roles wobble under pressure. Today, while social norms have evolved, the uncertainty of adulthood, and the fear of public judgment, remains familiar. The neighborhood gossip of the 1920s may have turned into online commentary, but the emotional stakes are strikingly similar. As for its afterlife, Stork Mad, like many short subjects of its era, gradually slipped from mainstream awareness as feature-length talkies dominated screens. Some Christie productions survive only in partial prints or archival holdings, and the scattered preservation of these films reminds us how easily early cinema can fade from view. Each surviving reel becomes a small window into a vanished theatrical world. In the end, Stork Mad suggests that chaos can open the door to growth. What begins as panic softens into possibility. If adulthood sometimes arrives like an unexpected bundle on the porch, perhaps the real comedy lies in how we rise to meet it. And if a mysterious baby appeared at our doors today, we might reach for a smartphone first, but we'd still feel that same jolt of disbelief. Thank you for spending this time with quality silent films. We hope you enjoyed revisiting this lively chapter of silent comedy. Join us again as we continue presenting full-length classics enriched with history, biography, and cultural perspective, bringing the past into clearer focus, one shimmering frame at a time.